Rifle through any magazine and you'll see that one of the beauty must-haves for a youthful appearance is a tan, especially in the summer. A tan makes you look thin and healthy because it implies you've been active out in the sun or relaxing on some vacation beach somewhere. That's what the photos tell you. What they don't show is the photo of that beach beauty several years later. How young do sunspots, wrinkles, and skin cancer look? Because that's what repeated sun exposure gives you in the long run. But getting sun feels so good. It's warm, it's bright, it makes plants grow. It's our best source of vitamin D. So what about it is so bad for us? Well, it's part of what sunlight is made of, ultraviolet light.
The traditional older sunscreens used to be protective against only UVB rays, and that's your typical SPF 15, SPF 30. Nowadays, we do know that UVA or ultraviolet A rays are just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, in reference to its carcinogenic potential as well as premature aging of the skin.
You know, I should come back as a plant in another life. Then I can just bask in the glow without the threat of skin cancer or wrinkles. Lucky plants. In the meantime, we should all be wearing sunscreen. Bottles are marked with an SPF number, which stands for Sun Protection Factor.
The sun protective factor is a number, which essentially means that's the amount of time that one needs to achieve a sunburn or erythema, which is redness on the skin, and that's how the sunscreen achieves that label in the lab. So an SPF of 15 takes 15 times the amount of time to achieve a sunburn versus an SPF 30, which takes 30 times the amount, and compared to someone with no protection at all.
But SPF is not really an indication of how long you can stay in the sun, since that depends on individual factors like skin type and application.
Generally speaking, the majority of people do not use enough sunscreen on their skin. That does not mean reapplying enough. It doesn't mean using the correct amount. It means using the proper concentration. In the lab, when these sunscreens achieve their rating of an SPF value, there is a certain amount of sunscreen that gets placed on the skin to achieve that value. And the majority of people don't put quite that amount on their skin, probably less than half. So I do tell patients that a bottle of sunscreen on a vacation to a sunny place should probably be lasting you only about 2 days or so of usage. If you're not going through your sunscreen bottle that fast, you're not using enough on your skin. And with regards to the sunscreen sprays that are available now and are very popular, I tell patients when you paint a sunscreen spray on your skin, pretend you are painting a fence. If you just spray it in the air, you'll have a fence that doesn't receive a nice coat of paint. And if you don't apply a really good layer on your skin, obviously those areas that are not protected will get a sunburn.
In general, I recommend using something around 30. The SPF rating system is on a logarithmic scale, which means that even though it sounds like 60 is twice as good as 30, it's really not. It's only incrementally better. And whenever you're out, you should think of sunscreen as just one piece of the protection puzzle, since things like swimming and sweating reduce the number you think is protecting you. Clothing is another good way to block the sun, but only if it's sun protective clothing.
There are many different acronyms and many different slogans that the American Academy of Dermatology has developed so people can easily remember these steps. But the bottom line is protect yourself as much as possible, which means wear sunscreens, preferably that have a broad spectrum of protection against ultraviolet rays, wear protective clothing, wear a protective hat that provides shade, and also seek shade during the peak sun hours between approximately 10 a.m. and 2 or 3 p.m.
While the sun ages and wrinkles us, it's not entirely bad, so there's no reason for you to hold yourself up all summer long. Like I said, exposure to the sun is the best way to get vitamin D, and that can help prevent all sorts of diseases. Sunlight also improves your mood. So to safely get the most out of sun exposure, just spend a few minutes out in the sun and then lather yourself up with sunscreen. If you still want to get that tan, it's probably best to use the spray-ons. Just be sure you don't end up with orange hands. You look like a Martian. I'm Dr. Mike Rosen, and you're watching the eHealth Network. Now go out and enjoy the sun, but put some sunscreen on first.